And are you refreshed?
Yes.
Good. Now what?
Thank you.
Yes.
I kind of not sure if I am allowed to ask this question, because everyone is asking so profound questions like whys, and I was sitting there and admiring the woman a few rows before me. She's so beautiful, and I want to know how. She has gray hair, scarf on her. She's so elegant, and am I allowed to ask this?
There is nothing off limits.
I want to be like her.
So, you don't think that's a profound question, but it really is. And the reason that it is such an important question is because that's part of the sifting and sorting and evaluating. In other words, there's something you're seeing there that you're feeling resonance with. And so you're recognizing a desire. And by doing that, you hear us say, know what you don't want, know what you do want, know what you don't want, know what you do want. That's what creates your vortex. In other words, this is the way you identify your preferences, and your inner being acknowledges every preference that you formulate. It's a good thing. So what makes you think that there's something about it? Were you in trouble for sucking your thumb? In other words, often that's what causes you to determine that something is inappropriate or not a very good question or something like that. But we think it's a really good question. Did you hear our answer?
I didn't quite catch that, what you said.
Do you sense, sort of get what we're always talking about, that you create your own reality?
Yes.
And do you feel like you have choices in what you create?
Yes, I do.
And so how is that different? Why are you setting that aside as something that you feel is inappropriate for you to do?
If I see what I want, I kind of know the steps, but I don't know how to become beautiful if I'm not there. Like, I can't control how I'm gonna get old, right? You're gonna say, yeah, you can.
We are going to say to you that there is nothing that you cannot be or do or have, and that when you identify that you want it. But you see, in this conversation, you're not yet doing that. You're wanting something you don't believe, and so you've got split energy. So therefore, it doesn't unfold for you in the way that you think that you want it to.
Yes, it's kind of a second question. Like, if I know something isn't right and I got split energy,
how do you know something isn't right?
Like, I'm not in alignment, I'm not in love, right? And I don't know exact thought that makes it not right. How can I catch it?
By caring about how you feel, and by noticing when you don't feel good, and then doing something about it, thought-wise, choice-wise. So we're going to demonstrate with your example what we've been talking about already. So you see something that you want, and you conclude that you want it, but you can't have it. So that's where you started in this scenario. I see this thing that I want. It could be prosperity. It could be health when you're sick. It could be living in a big house when you don't have a house. It could be any number of things. So you see something that you want, and you believe that you don't have it. In fact, you believe that you don't have it, and then you can't get it. So there it is. That's a thought. The reason that it feels like negative emotion to you is because your inner being is seeing what you're seeing, but seeing it very differently than you're seeing it. That's always what negative emotion means. So if you ask yourself the question, how might my inner being be seeing this differently? So then you just pose those questions to yourself. In other words, just take a stab at it. Try to identify what it might be that you're, well, my inner being, according to Abraham, says that I can be or do or have anything that I want, but there's still that pinch because you don't believe it. And then you might say something like, well, I suppose there are a lot of people that at one time were standing in a place like I'm standing, that are now standing in a place like she's standing. And if that thought feels better, then you know that you're closing that gap, that you're coming a little closer to the way your inner being thinks about it. If you double down on what you don't want, it will feel worse. Don't know how to do it, don't know how, don't know when, don't know who, don't know the path. Feels worse and worse and worse. If you say something like, well, I'll figure it out, that might feel a little better. I don't have to figure it out this red hot minute. Feels a little better. See how it goes? You just do it a little bit at a time. But what's the most important thing that we say to you? You identified an emotion, didn't feel good. So what is it you really want? Is it the beauty that that woman has when you're in your later years? Is that what you want? Or is what you want to be in alignment with your inner being?
Second.
Yeah. And that's always what it is. Although it often doesn't seem like it, because the thing that has come up is what you think it is about. The issue is connection to your inner being or not. The subject is that and that and that and that and that. So as different subjects come up that point out that issue of not trusting yourself, of not believing in yourself, of believing that you're somehow disadvantaged, as you continue to practice the I'm not enough trend that a lot of people practice, or the I wish it were different for me but it isn't, or it's not fair that it's not the way that I want it to be. As you practice those thoughts that you've picked up along your physical trail, some of them don't feel very good. But when you practice the thought in real time, right here, right now, where all of your power is, you try to find the thought that you think that your inner being might be thinking. Often you can find it for this reason. It's a stick with two ends on it. And what's wanted is on one end, and the absence of what is wanted is on the other end. So the absence of what is wanted is what was active, but your inner being's got hold of the other end of that stick. And as you acknowledge that there are two ends of the stick and that you get to choose, not based upon what is, Esther cannot let the fact that those projectors didn't come be the reason that she never lets them come. Nor is it a good idea for her to use the fact that they didn't come yet be her justification for beating up on suppliers. In other words, don't double down and hold tight to what you don't want. Double up to what you do want. Your inner being will help you. We think the fact that we found you way back there hiding, had a hard time getting you to stand up, and then when you sat down, you weren't sure it was even all right for you to ask a question. And it was so all right. It was such an important conversation to have. So you're different now than you were before. In other words, you just had an experience where you showed yourself that you can have some things that you weren't so sure you were even supposed to be able to ask for. Can I ask this question? Falls in the same category as, can I get everything that I want? Can I get anything that I want? Can I get picked out of a crowd? Can I have a conversation with Abraham in a room full of 1,000 people when there's 999 other people that really want to be in the hot seat? Am I really in competition with anyone or anything? Or is a strong desire enough for me? For anything?